On this week's edition of the Fresh Take podcast brought to you by Craig's Power Equipment, we're chatting with National Football Recruiting Guru David Schuman. Remember, the Fresh Take podcast is brought to you by Craig's Power Equipment, locally owned, family run right here in Colorado Springs, the corner of Wasatch and Vermaho. Welcome back to the Fresh Take podcast. I'm Justin Hart, and this afternoon I'm being joined by a guy who runs the largest high school football combine and recruitment showcase in the country, David Schuman. And David, welcome to the Fresh Take.
Oh, it's great to be on.
Well, David, it's recruiting time. We just had the early signing period back in December, right before Christmas. We're in between now. We got the transfer portal about to close down, I believe, January 15th. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got
next couple weeks.
Then the National Signing Day, of course, will be for the late signing period. It'll be the first week in February. And a guy who's been on the grind, a guy who's been working the portal, also working the high schools, is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders up at CU. What are your first thoughts of Coach Prime's first signing class?
Well, I think he, in a very short time period, put together a very good signing class. And depending on what he gets with the transfer portal, in the next few weeks, it could be a monumental class for Colorado. I mean, 24/7 Sports has them ranked, I think, in the top 50 overall.
23rd.
Right. Some have as high as top 20. Some of the other services. So it's pretty incredible what he's been able to do in a short time period to have a top 25 class possibly in a month. That's incredible.
Yeah, let's just look at some of the kids who really stick out, who signed a letter of intent back in December. First of all, you got to start with Dylan Edwards, a running back out of Derby, Kansas, 4-star prospect.
Yeah, he's a scat guy. He's got a lot of speed. He's a great change of direction. That's a big pickup among two other 4-star pickups in such a short time period. All guys that are top 300 national, Amari Miller and Adam Hopkins along with it. It's just incredible to get those guys in his first class.
Amari Miller, a kid from North Louisiana out of North Cato, was on the list high with LSU, was possibly, people thought he was going to sign with LSU. Have you seen that young man on film?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big wide receiver that goes up and get it. He has tremendous speed, much like a lot of Louisiana players. They're physical and very, very athletic, great at leaping ability. LSU does not allow a lot of players to leave the state of Louisiana, so I think that's a really strong indication on what Deion's able to do nationally to be able to dip in Louisiana and get a player out of there.
Adam Hopkins out of Thomasville, Georgia. 6 foot, 170, 4-star wide receiver, also on his way to Boulder.
Yeah, not surprised there that he was able to pull him. Again, along the same lines, he's done an amazing job with skill players. Thomasville, Georgia is known to produce a lot of players. That's a place that's had a lot of players come out of there. A lot of them in the past have gone to the Georgia schools, Georgia Tech and Georgia, and Deion's dipping into there to get a player out of Thomasville.
What do you know about the quarterback that Coach Prime signed, Casey Wiseman, out of Douglasville, Georgia, I guess suburban Atlanta area?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting, the quarterback that he signed, because of the fact that now he's a 3-star prospect. He can do a lot of things really well. He throws the ball well. He can move as well. But what's interesting is because he's bringing in, we think that Shedeur is going to come with him to Colorado. I'd bet everything I own on that. He's going to be a prospect that's going to give him someone who, if Shedeur either goes down or when Shedeur leaves, a guy that can go in right away from that standpoint and be a top quarterback. He's emphasized so much about how that he wants a guy that can throw the ball down the field. It's one of the things that he harped on when he was with the HBCUs. One of the things they need to improve on is getting guys that can put the ball down the field, and he puts his money where his mouth is, and getting Casey Wiseman.
Heading down some of the transfer portal guys who look to be coming to Boulder, and I guess you got to start with 5-star receiver, 5-star cornerback Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, he was the number one player a year ago. What I think is really interesting with Travis is, well, first of all, I guess there's a lot of stuff going on that it's not a complete done deal because of NIL and some of the other schools down in like Florida, like Miami. They're trying to get a situation where they can get him. So NIL is a big part of it possibly here. Travis has said that's not the case for him. He's exclaimed that he wants to go to Colorado, but that supposedly is not yet a done deal. But obviously Deion has the inside track there with everything with him playing for Jackson State before. But it'll be interesting to see as we get towards the end what happens to Travis.
Savion Washington, the most important part of a college football team, any football team, is the trenches, offensive and defensive line. It looks like he addresses that need, bringing in Savion Washington from Kent State, who will be joining his former head coach, who will be now the offensive coordinator for CU. Right.
So Savion Washington started every game for Kent State. He's a mammoth of a man at 6'8", 320, 330. Gigantic person, physical, and he's a definite first-round prospect at the NFL level. So that's a huge get. That was one of the things that I think Deion really has to continue to work on. He has a plethora of skill, both offensive, defensive side, but guys like Savion Washington are going to be the key pillars to be able to give time to both the quarterbacks and the receivers to be able to get open.
Vontae Bentley on the other side of the football, linebacker coming in from Clemson, was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. 24/7 has him as a 3-star prospect coming out of the transfer portal.
Right. Struggled a little bit at Clemson. He's one of those guys that has potential to make a huge impact. He's dipping into ACC territory to get a transfer out of there. I think what's amazing is not just what he's getting from a skill-wise standpoint, but the places he's getting all these guys from.
Top programs.
So top programs. Obviously, some of the guys that you would expect, his top guys from JSU are coming with him, or at least we all believe that will be the case. And then, going to other top programs to be able to get guys. That's what I find is interesting. That he's able to get that amount of guys. I mean, we're talking, if it all works out that way, 35 guys in the class. That's a gigantic class.
Yeah. Looking ahead to February, where do you see Coach Prime and the staff heading for the late signing period?
Yeah, so from a high school standpoint, I mean, they're gonna be towards the max. So with already 18 signed, depending on how many transfers end up leaving, you could have as many of 20 guys possibly transferring and being gone, maybe more. But they have a room for 5 more high school potential prospects. The interesting thing is the guy that everybody's talking about that he's expressed that he's committed still to Miami, but Kermani McLean is the guy that Deion has targeted, and he's a 5-star, that he wants to be able to get over to Colorado to kind of be the pinnacle part of his class. So that'll be interesting. That's the prospect that everyone wants to see. Does he stick with Miami, or does he go and choose Deion?
Is this an NIL thing?
Do I think NIL is a part of that?
Yes.
I think, on the Miami side, NIL is definitely a huge part of it. Colorado is just beginning to really get a large part of their NIL together. So I think that'll be part of what impacts Kermani McLean, but also does he want to learn from the best from a defensive back standpoint? That's what Travis Hunter has said, and it'll be interesting to see if Kermani McLean thinks similar or he stays, with his original lead from the get-go with Miami.
It's already a top 25 class. Once the first Wednesday in February is done, you see this class moving up. Can this be a top 15 class? Do I dare say a top 10 class?
Well, if Travis Hunter comes to him, Obviously, his son will come to him. If Savion Washington continues to stay with him, if Jimmy Horn Jr. stays with him, if those guys do, he could dip, I would say, as deep into like the top 15, the top 10. Mm-hmm. He may need to get a Cormani McClain. I mean, if he pulls in a 5-star like Cormani McClain, that could put him over the top to being a top 10 class.
David, let our audience know where they can find you and what you do with your services.
Yeah, I mean, we run camps all over the country evaluating players and high school athletes all over the country, showcase-based, combine-based, and to be able to get those out to college coaches. NUCsports.com or myfootballcamps.com. Go right there. And then my Twitter's @Coach Schuman. You can reach out to me every time and anytime there. DM me. I'm glad to talk.
David Schuman, thank you so much for joining us on The Fresh Take.
My pleasure.
Happy New Year. The holidays are over, but the savings continue at Craig's Power Equipment, your local authorized outdoor power equipment dealer serving Colorado Springs. Right now, get 10% off all in-stock snow equipment, lawn and garden equipment, backpack blowers, aerators, generators, and electrical products. Get 20% off all in-stock BCS tractors and implements, and all in-stock 3-point tractor implements are selling at cost. All purchases serviced on site, all warranties handled locally. Buy now, save now at Craig's Power Equipment, Wasatch, and Vermaho, Colorado Springs.